Good morning. Welcome to our Sunday worship service. I am Nancy Nelson, and I'll be your celebrant this morning. I'm a longtime member of the UUCP, and I find joy in learning more about this faith and spending time with the people who share it. I especially enjoy being part of the shared worship team. I'd like to extend a special welcome to people who are joining us for the first time. We are very glad that you are here. If you've come in person, you should have received a welcome packet with an information card in it. If you fill that out and drop it in the offering basket, we'll be in touch to support you in finding your way into our community. If you're joining us online, there's a link on our website to an electronic version of the same card. Our welcoming committee members have yellow name tags and can answer any questions or point you to additional information. And welcoming people? Yes, there's many of them. After this service, please join us for coffee and conversation and treats. After the service downstairs in our fellowship hall or in our Zoom room. Shira, whoops, that's next week. It's this week, okay. Shira will be hosting a reception in the minister's office for newcomers or anyone else who'd prefer a quieter opportunity for connection. Now let's say our words of welcome together. Whether this is your first or your 1000th Sunday with us, whether you strolled, rolled, Zoomed, ran, or danced in, we are glad you chose to join us. We are one people of many beliefs, identities, origins, sexualities, and genders. All are welcome here. Now we will take a moment to say hello across our digital divide. First, we're going to show people joining us on Zoom. If you are at home, please turn on your camera. People at home, wave. Now, people who are attending the service, it's our turn to wave. It's always good to say hello. We do have some announcements this morning. Jim Frenzel would like us to know more about the Chalice Lighters program.
So just a quick update, the application for a grant to replace the window on the south side has now been submitted and will be considered for the first round of funding in 2025. So a big shout out to all of you who signed up to become Chalice Lighters, particularly the first time people who signed up. We're now at 38%. That doesn't mean you should drop out because 30% is the threshold, but 38 is pretty impressive. And then also I'd like to thank all of the staff who provided data, information, a lot of different numbers, and as well as the members who provided data and feedback. So thank you very much, and fingers crossed.
Yay. we do love that window, but it needs to be made, it leaks and the wind blows in it. Some of you received a purple piece of paper when you came in. This is part of Response Sunday. The shared worship team is going to 4 times a year ask you what you thought of the service. So at some time, I'm hoping that you can fill this out before you leave today. There's baskets around to put them in. If you didn't get one, we'll have extra at the door at the end of the service, and there's some downstairs as well. We're just trying to find out more about what people think of our services. And if you are new to the UUCP, next Sunday after the service, there will be a gathering in the library upstairs for conversations and questions about our UU beliefs and what happens in our beloved community. Now, Shira has an announcement.
A real quick one. I am Shira. I am in charge of campus ministry, and we need your help. We're having a feeding tomorrow at the campus. It's the same sign up I announced last week for if you want to help with mains. Our theme for October is pasta, but at this point, if you just want to make anything, just make any dish you can. The sign up is right outside the church on the wall with the many good-looking posters, you'll see one written, "We need your help." You can scan the QR code. If you're having a problem with that, you can also see me. I'll be with the new members meeting up in the minister's office downstairs or just around the church today. So if you have any questions, look for me. I'll make myself as available as possible. So yes, we still need help. If you can prepare a dish, please. Thank you.
And finally, we have 2 birthdays. We would like to celebrate Rod Sprague and Dan Leonard today with, to Rod and Dan, happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday, dear Dan, happy birthday to you. Here end the announcements. We preface our service by acknowledging that our church was built on the ancestral lands of the Nimipu, called the Nez Perce by the French-speaking traders, the Palouse and the Chichunk, called the Coeur d'Alene. Let us pause and remember that we live on ground that is sacred, that was stolen, ground that cries out for justice and for responsible stewardship. May our remembering help us find the courage to do our part to restore the wholeness of the earth and her peoples. We're now hoping that people at home have a chalice or something they can light and join us. And it's time to light our chalice. Let's do it together. And our words. In the light of truth and the warmth of love, we gather to seek and seek to share.
Please be seated. You know, Nancy, one of the nice things about working with you, many nice things, is I don't have to adjust the microphone up and down. Good morning, everyone. I am the Reverend Dr. Elizabeth Stevens, and I am lucky enough to get to serve this congregation as its minister. This morning's service is the last in our series moving through the lifespan. We'll be hearing from some of our elders about the gifts and challenges of aging, and then lifting up the names of people we've lost, but who we continue to carry in our hearts. My dad used to say to me, aging is not for sissies. If we are lucky enough to make it into our 70s, our 80s, our 90s, we lose a lot along the way. Friends, family members, physical abilities, pieces of our identity. Yet there's a wisdom that comes with age. And while I'll let our elders share that wisdom in their own words, what it comes down to, in my view, is acceptance. To age with grace is to accept the losses as they come. It's about accepting ourselves as we are, rather than trying to fight or deny the inevitable decline. And most importantly, it's about still living, still loving, rather than withdrawing. The larger culture likes to portray older folks as cranky, as unnecessary, as a burden. When people internalize that message, they might start to feel useless and unwanted. There can be a sense of shame that develops around those unavoidable limitations. But when that happens, the whole world loses out. We lose out on the gifts and wisdom that only come with age. So we aren't going to let that happen here. Everyone matters. everybody is beautiful and beloved. Every single day of your life, whether you're young or old or somewhere in the middle, every day is a gift. And you are a gift, and you deserve to be seen and celebrated. Let's begin our service by singing together. I invite you to rise in body or in spirit. Let's sing number 128 in the gray hymnal, For All That Is Our Life.
Now, let's take a moment to engage in the practice of generosity. For those of you who are able to make a financial contribution, the logistics are on your screen. We typically give away all the cash from our Sunday offerings to local charities whose mission aligned with our values, a program called the Month of Sundays. Then, on the fifth Sunday, like today, we take a special collection for a different worthy cause. Today's offering will go to support victims of climate change locally and far away. Half will stay local and go to the Fund for Families Who Lost Their Homes in the Kamiai Fire. Half will go to the UUA's Disaster Relief Fund to help victims of Hurricane Helene. To donate, please indicate Month of Sundays on your check or on the form, the online drop-down menu. In the spirit of love, and for the continuing work of this church, we will now take time to practice generosity together.
I think in every stage of life, we tend to pay attention to those who are older than we are. We look up to them. We strive to emulate the things we admire. Sometimes we try to avoid the mistakes we see them making. The elders in this congregation are amazing, wonderful role models. They're generous and positive and cheerful in the face of adversity and challenges. There are so many reasons to look up to them. That's true of the folks we're featuring in the video you're about to watch, but it's also true of all of the other elders in the congregation. But if there were one mistake I see people making, it's a reluctance to ask for and accept help. And I know I have talked about this before. It's one of my many soapboxes. But I'm going to keep harping on it. Keep reminding you. See, independence and autonomy are good things. Preserving independence and our autonomy are worthwhile things to do. That said, early adopters of supportive technologies that give them continued access to the activities they enjoy do better long-term than the ones who resist admitting they have challenges at all. So here is my heartfelt plea. If, as you age, you start to have a hard time hearing, don't withdraw. Get a hearing aid. And if you can't afford hearing aids, let me know. We can help. If you start having a hard time getting around, don't hide at home. We will miss you. Go ahead and use that cane or that walker. Ask us for rides. Ask us for help with the chores that you can't quite manage on your own anymore. Most especially, if you are lonely, please reach out and tell someone. If you are depressed, we care and will surround you with love if you give us half a chance. If you are in physical pain, you would tell your doctor so they can help you, right? Right? So emotional pain, social isolation work the same way. We are your community. We can help you, but you have to let us know. This isn't an act of weakness. Rather, it's an extension of that generous spirit that we value so highly. Because for a community to be healthy, for it to be truly multi-generational, we need to teach the younger ones to look out for the older ones. Those sweet connections between young and old are so precious. There's a passing down of wisdom, a handing off of culture and tradition. But it only works if the sharing goes in both directions. Kids and younger adults can't just be the beneficiaries of our elders' goodness. They have to have opportunities to give back. So please keep that in mind as you watch this short video with interviews of a few of our elders. Accept what they have to offer, but think too about what is in you that you'd like to share in return.
Hi, I'm Bill Bonnickson. I am 87 years old.
Okay, I'm Joanne Manita. I'm a Jewish Unitarian agnostic.
Roberta Eileen Smith. I'd like to be called Eileen.
My name is Zoanne Cooley. I'm almost 92.
I was raised on a farm in southern Idaho.
I grew up in the Midwest, Kansas, Missouri, and eventually Iowa.
Born in Lewiston and raised in Pullman for 23 years, attended WSU.
I grew up in the Bronx in the city.
I had 4 siblings.
I'm the oldest of 4 children.
Oh, I'm an only child.
My brother was 6 years younger than I, and sister 3. I loved them like little babies, and I carried my little brother around as long as I could, then was asked to put him down.
I had my brother Rob. He was born in 1940. And later my brother Joe was born in 1943. And then there's a little hiatus. And my sister Janet was born in 1949. So there were 4 of us in the family.
And why I'm in Idaho, I don't know. I have to tell you, my husband in his later years, he would say, whose idea was it to move here?
I came to state of Washington Pullman in 1957. Actually, we came from Chicago.
And moving to 7 different states and moving 26 times. I was glad to be in Moscow.
I didn't want to stay in farm, so I came up to the University of Idaho, got a degree, went on to do other things.
Yeah, I saw that question. I really laughed because it makes it sound like there are lots of good things and you can pick a few.
For me, my life is pretty much free of worries.
Well, it feels like I can be myself more comfortably now.
You have time to pursue interests.
Even if I lose my memory, it's okay. I'm not treated as if I'm not too bright.
You don't need the help when you're younger. And when you need it and people give it to you, it's so special.
You have time to pay attention and take good care of friendships and relationships.
Not worrying about the things I had to worry about when I was younger. My family is raised. I don't have to worry too much about my great-grandchildren because they have their own parents.
I'm glad I have enough energy to still feel like I'm playing with learning.
But freedom to choose what you might be wanting to do.
I'm financially independent, so I don't have to worry about finding money at this age.
Feel a lot more contented, a lot more settled.
And I can forgive myself very quickly and more easily because I know if I need to make amends, I can not be afraid of doing that.
So now you'll make me think each day a little more about, oh, this is not all bad. Well, the big thing for me is my husband passed a year and a half ago.
2 wives in succession, and the second wife and I were very good friends, and she died a little over a year ago, and I miss her.
Paul, my husband is Japanese American, grew up in Montana in a very small town. And I met him at Cornell in college, and he wanted to come back west.
After my divorce, I met Jim. We had very similar interests. He lived on an acreage in Idaho. I lived on an acreage over in Washington, and we met at Parents Without Partners.
Losing friends, it still feels like the people that I got so much from, even a smile, will come into my consciousness while I'm playing the piano.
Well, I've lost some good friends when you get to be my age. You know, that's always hard.
Physical ability. And probably some mental ability too.
When I was much younger, I used to do a lot of hiking and so forth. But now, to get around, and it's mainly in the house, I use this walker or rollator.
Physically, I'm pretty able to get around. I lost my sight in one eye. My other eye has a little macular degeneration and a little glaucoma.
I have macular degeneration.
I can't drive even to the mall.
I can still drive.
I can still drive on my own road, but I don't drive on the highway anymore. As anybody who gets to that point in their life knows, that makes a big difference.
The friendship I had with my sister seems to be non-existent because she feels like I was not nice to her when we were one-on-one. Like I told you, can't take care of me. And that I was kinder to her in public.
And the one thing that I've had to change in my life is my pace. As you can probably tell, I'm a kind of a type A person, and I could do 4 things and get to this meeting, and just like Nancy does, and you probably do too. Can't do that anymore, which has been hard for me, but better than having a problem, so.
Of course, it depends on the person a little bit, but
Enjoy it.
I think I would first of all tell them to take good care of their body because it may last, you may need it longer than you think.
Being silent, even just for a minute, can help something come to mind.
how to take care of their own finances, how to save and invest.
Don't put off pleasures. If there are things you really want to do, don't wait till after you're retired or something like that. For me, it was travel, and a lot of things I had on my list I didn't get to.
Travel some, and when you're young, that's an easy time to travel when you don't have a family and so forth. So traveling in the United States to see what our country is like and in other parts of the world.
You can develop new interests.
You still have that innocence inside you that lets you learn and be part of everything that is innocent.
I should also, again, go to my Jewish tradition where we say, you live on in the memories of those who treasure you. So that's something you kind of should think about. Make sure you're making good memories.
Education was very helpful to lead my later life, so I would advise young people to pay attention to education.
You're lovable. You couldn't do anything bad enough to take that away.
And there's one strange thing that my high school buddy Ruth from the Bronx, and we're still friends, she told me, get friends who are younger than you.
I try not to think about it.
Too busy to think about it.
I see it as obviously a part of life.
I think it's a mystery, and you're not going to know what happens until it happens.
I willed my body to science in case there's something healthy enough to donate.
Everyone's going to die. It's just part of life.
I wish I believed in an afterlife, but I don't believe in an afterlife or resurrection or reincarnation or happy hunting grounds or any of those things.
I'm not a religious person, so I'm not counting on going through the pearly gates or anything like that.
If all this body can do is teach someone to be less afraid of the human body, that's all right.
When my husband died, I was saying, I wish I would believe that sometime I would see him again, but I'm too much of a scientist to think things like that happen. You know what Woody Allen said, I'm not afraid to die, but I don't want to be there when it happens. That's kind of what I feel like.
When it comes to my own death, I hope it'll be peaceful, but I'm very much aware you don't know what's going to happen.
I just seem to have a new job description when I go into this other life, because life continues, but not in the body, just perhaps in different fragrances and forms. There must be a feeling of love that's perpetual.
I'm a water baby. I always love to swim, be by the water, and boat rides. I love boat rides.
Going out in the wilderness with my dad and brothers.
I like working with tools. I like to repair things.
Some people know that my husband and I square danced. I love music and I love dancing.
Folk dancing, traveling. I did a lot of knitting.
It was my good fortune that he wanted to do that too. We had almost 30 years of square and round dancing.
I enjoyed helping on the farm when I was there.
The one thing I can still do is read. Reading was always one of my favorite things. And in spite of my eyes not being good, the one thing I can still do, I read on Kindle.
And I enjoyed my family. My family grew in size when I was a young man.
I've always loved nature.
Planting orchards and putting up this house.
I grew up in New York City, and I would love to go to plays and ballet.
I enjoyed the friends I had in school.
Shout out to Elizabeth Berlinger, who comes visiting, and has been such a blessing to me. Cindy Magnuson, other wonderful people.
With those voices echoing in our minds and hearts, I invite us now into a time of meditation. This is a piece called Thanks Be for These by Richard Gilbert, an elder colleague of mine. For slants of sunlight through windows, for the whisper of wind on my face, for the smooth skin of an apple, for the caress of a collar on my neck, for the prickling of my skin when I am deeply moved, for the pounding of my heart when I run, for the peace of soul at day's end, for familiar voices and family rites, for the faces of friends in laughter and tears, for the tender human arms that hold me, for the flashes of memories that linger, for the mysterious moments that beckon, for the particularity of this instant, for the silence of moonlit nights, for the sound of rain on my roof, of wind and dry leaves, of waves caressing the shore, for the softness of summer breezes, for the crispness of autumn air, for dark shadows on white snow, for the resurrection of spring, for the faithful turning of the seasons, for angular, leafless trees, for gentle hills rolling in the distance, for meandering streams seeking an unseen sea, for corn stalks at stiff attention and brittle plants bristling past their prime, for unharvested gardens returning plants to enrich the soil, for the sight of familiar faces, the sound of our spoken names, the welcoming embrace of outstretched arms, for the ritual of friendship reminding us we matter. Thanks be for these. Let's rest in the silence together. Amen, and blessed be. Thank you so much. Okay, so none of us get out of this alive. Our mortality is as much a part of our body, a part of us as our bodies, our minds, our experiences and stories, and yes, the grief and all the other feelings that weave through our lives and hearts. Our cultural norms point us toward denying death, distancing ourselves from it, seeing it as the enemy. Now, it used to be that when someone died, the people closest to him or her would tenderly wash the body, wrap it in a shroud, build a coffin, dig a hole, do something concrete with hands, with body to honor the life that had ended. There was no distance between the living and the dead. Those hands-on tasks, the washing, the wrapping, the building, the digging, provided an opportunity to grieve and a chance to witness what death looks like. By the time a person reached adulthood, they'd already sat bedside with dying family members. Everyone knew what a death rattle sounded like, knew what a dead body looked like and felt like and smelled like. Even children were allowed to see and touch dead bodies. Death was just a normal and natural part of life. These days, though, we're insulated from that intimacy. When someone close is coming to the end of their life, then everything can feel strange and alien. The routine, the process, the logistics of death aren't as familiar to us as they would have been generations ago. And as a result, every loss can feel terrifying, catastrophic. And it is. I mean, death is always catastrophic. But there used to be a time when, yes, it was catastrophic, but it was also expected, and so maybe not quite as scary. I guess what I'm saying is that death doesn't have to be so confusing and strange. And neither does grief. We don't have to be afraid of grief. Grief isn't something to be avoided at all costs. It's a process that helps us heal after loss. I'm going to read you something from Right Protection by Naomi Rachel Remen. At the level of daily life, she writes, there certainly is loss. If we spiritualize it away, we can't use it to grow. If, as Ram Dass suggests, life is the ultimate spiritual teacher, we cannot learn unless we attend school. This usually means allowing ourselves to be touched by life, to participate in it. We learn by experience. The unexperienced life does not teach anybody anything. There are no spiritual shortcuts. She continues, the important thing about the many strategies we use to shelter ourselves from feeling loss is that none of them lead to healing. Although denial, rationalization, substitution, avoidance, and the like may numb the pain of loss, every one of them hurts us in some far more fundamental ways. None is respectful toward life and toward process. None acknowledge our capacity for finding meaning or wisdom. Pain often marks the place where self-knowledge and growth can happen, much in the way fear does. Grieving is the way that loss can heal, yet many people do not know how to grieve and heal their losses. This makes it hard to find the courage to participate fully in life. At some deep level, it may make us unwilling to be open-hearted or present, to become attached or intimate. We trust our bodies to heal because of the gift of 1 billion years of biological evolution. But how might you live if you did not know that your body could heal? Would you still ride your bike, drive a car, use a knife to cut up your dinner? Or would you never get off the couch? Many people have become emotional couch potatoes because they do not know they can heal their hearts. Unless we learn to grieve, we may need to live life at a distance in order to protect ourselves from pain. We may not be able to risk having anything that really matters to us, or to allow ourselves to be touched, to be intimate, to care, or be cared about. untouched. We will suffer anyway. We just will not be transformed by our suffering. Grieving may be one of the most fundamental life skills. It is the way that the heart can heal from loss and go on to love again and grow wise. If it were up to me, I would teach grieving in kindergarten, right up there with taking turns and sharing. Do we know what that is? Are we going to start hearing baseball? I thought we fixed that one. So we'll take this moment, let them figure that out, to do some reflection. Here are questions for you. How and when did you learn how to grieve? Do you trust your heart to heal? We can learn from our grief without getting stuck in it. We can let it wash over us and through us without being afraid that we will lose ourselves. We can greet grief as a beloved friend. We can let our soul stretch so that it accommodates our grief and still has room for everything else. We can remember the love lost and notice all the ways we carry a legacy of love forward with us. We can trust that no action, no love, however small, is wasted. And trusting that we can love profligately, spreading goodness and joy. So as we move into this Stones of Remembrance ritual, please be easy with yourselves. If the grief rises, let the tears flow. These are the words of my colleague, Christine Robinson. At this darkening time of the year, our thoughts turn to things past, to life retreating, to those who are no longer with us. Images come to our minds of dear companions who once graced our lives, loved ones whom we miss, persons whose lives made an impact on our lives, of all those who were here contributing, caring, and are now gone. Our memories bring both joy and sadness. Let us not push these feelings away, for our recollections attest to the enduring importance of these friends, this love, our memories. We begin now our communion of names. I will start by reading the names of members of this community who we've lost, and the names of people whose photographs were sent in ahead of time. Just because I read someone's name doesn't mean you can't drop a stone for them too. Ritual is a physical manifestation of a spiritual reality or a spiritual process that is longed for. So today's ritual affirms the way love ripples out, just like a stone dropped in water. Karen Barron, Robin Magnuson, David Rankin, Paul Munita, Pat Peak, Chuck Harris, Marty Godshow, Dora DeRungs, David Becker. Patricia Diane Finn, Ruth Spencer, Marilyn Hartung, Tom Cole, now I'd like to invite you to form a line down the aisle to my left. Go ahead, drop a stone, share the name of the person you're remembering today. If you wish, you can also drop a stone in silence. Then I invite you to return to your seat.
Carolyn Bowler.
Scott Fowler.
Grandpa and Grandma Lake.
Michael Myers.
Keith Haskell and Donald Haskell.
Dominic Stanziano and Catherine Gershio.
Pete Steyer.
Sarah Elliott. Wally Brown.
David Nordquist and Grace McCormick.
Ronald Hallen and Ganute Pervasis.
Nancy.
Tom Cole.
Paul, Chuck, Tom, Rex, Christy, Marty, Pat, Kathy, John, Dan, Karen, Nick.
Caroline Maxwell.
Rob Widener.
Tom Woodrum.
My nephew, Paul Pagel, who died last week.
Mike Kosman, Nick Kiesling, David Morehouse.
Arthur Conley.
Mine and Jenny's parents, Jeanette Headington Rod and Marvin Conrad Rod.
Don Aaron, Clarence Party.
Bill McLaughlin. Ken Myers, cousin. Dixie Kemp, cousin.
Rick Sprague.
Bob Leonard, Lois Leonard, David Leonard, Carl Leonard, Lois Liggett.
Matt Fetter, Alice Fetter. Tom Woodrum.
Joe and Irene and Charlie Tabor and Sam and Sydney Coleman.
Mother Kay Dolson, daughter to Laura Lynn.
Martin Caldwell.
Brother Tom First.
Charles and Mary Nolte, Debbie Daly, Shantae Parker Christian, Ernest and Yolanda Christian.
Sharon Pinwright Simmons and James Elwood Simmons.
Robert Bags.
Leslie and Anna Neal, Leslie Neal Jr.
Jack Blunt.
Diane Pierce.
My father-in-law, Richard Tollison, and my friend and neighbor, Henry John Wacker.
Wayne Englehart, Barbara Baker Englehart, and my dad, Rob Fisher.
And I drop a final stone for all of those people who were blessings, whose names weren't shared today. Number 6, just as long.
Our closing words are from Hunter S. Thompson. Life should not be a journey to the grave with the intention of arriving safely in a pretty and well-preserved body, but rather to skid in broadside in a cloud of smoke, thoroughly used up, totally worn out, loudly proclaiming, "Wow, what a ride." Please join us in our musical benediction, There Is a Love.
Please join me in the words to extinguish our chalice and embody the flame. We extinguish this chalice that it might glow gently in our hearts. May it light our paths as we leave this place. May it guide our way until we are together again. It's okay to walk through the world tender and open. Grief hurts, but it doesn't kill you. It helps you heal. So be open and be brave, and above all, love fiercely. I almost always include, and this year I didn't, that line from Mary Oliver that to live in this world, you must do three things. You must love what is mortal. You must hold it in your bones like your own life depends on it. And when the time comes to let it go, you must let it go. The loving and the letting go, it's what we're here for. So trust your own resilience and your capacity to be alive fully, to love fully, and to wring every last particle of everything out of this short span of life we're given. Go in peace. Come back next Sunday.